Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. Good to see the community out today. Everybody showed out. I love it. Welcome, everybody. For those that don't know, my name is Josiah Belafonte -McFarlane. Yeah. I'm the chairman of Checkpoint, or the Bradford West Indian Community Centre Association. Thank you. As you can see, we put on a good set and a good show. Big thanks to everybody who's been involved so far. Hope everyone got here nice and safe as always. What we've got today is called the Front Room Talks, Part 1. This is entitled The Black Experience, yeah? So this afternoon, we're going to continue a project that the association started 40 years ago, all right? And it was capturing the thoughts and the feelings of the people and the black people arriving and living in Bradford. So it was all done over tape, it was all oral history that we've actually managed to capture and find, okay? And we're going to continue the project on, and hopefully we can bridge the gaps between the generations, all right? We'd like to also thank the Bradford 2025 team for awarding us the Mini-C funding to introduce the project, okay? I really do hope, because I'm going to make it clear, this year is way before my time, all right? This year I have grey backs like the rest of you, all right? So I want everyone to know if this is authentic or not, yeah? I want everyone to grab a drink, relax, take in the experience and enjoy yourself, all right? The rest of the projects won't be in front of an audience, but will be uploaded to our YouTube page, and it'll be available for everyone to access from home as and when, and reminisce and, you know what I mean, look at things. So we've got performances from young upcoming artists who are bringing our culture to the performing arts industry. Food will be served in the break, which is at the back. Toilets are there and the other side, as those who've been in Checkpoint before may remember. All right, so we hope you enjoy, and let's introduce our hosts and the first panelists. Our hosts today are Kamar Brown and Solomon Gordon. Give them a round of applause.
So, thank you everybody for coming. It's a really nice turnout. This is Kamar Brown, co-host, co-panelist. I'm Solomon Gordon. And we're just going to jump straight into it, right? So our first performer today is an amazing, talented woman called Linda Ray.
I am an upcoming rapper, female rapper and singer, actress, and I'm also a producer. So I produced quite a few events and community events in Leeds, and hopefully I'll be coming up to Bradford to also do a few community events here as well. This is AIM.
My aim is change, my aim to fly, my aim to touch the sky. My aim to win, my aim to change, my aim to fly, my aim to touch the sky. I came to win the best, and win you better be taking higher out. Check out the dice and out, along with the dust and the out, so make it a win. Aim for the win, sell some for the win, no sense for time. Don't be surprised, give us a subscribe, but like you would have. You came to win, you came to change, you came to fly, you came to fly and touch the sky. You came to win, you came to change, you came to fly, you came to fly and touch the sky. First and I am into the fly, shop, I'm serving. Just get ready, just cause I'm happy. Don't want blood fast excuses, I'm chosen. I came to win, I bet to win, I came to fly, and touch the sky, yeah, I'm gonna make it. I came to win, I came to change, I came to fly, and touch the sky, I'm gonna make it. Thank you so much.
I'll be handing over back to the panelists as we begin the show. Thank you.
Here we're talking about how we as a people need to pull together. So I'm going to give it to Kamal to ask the question.
Yeah, thank you, Solomon. So, our first question for you, Tyrone, is how can other ethnicities pull through together compared to us black people? So, what do you think about
that? I feel like in today's generation, especially in Bradford, as a community, as a black community, it's a bit small in comparison to other communities. I feel like the other communities usually work together well and thrive because they support each other in, for example, businesses. Like if in Bradford you look around, majority of the businesses, it's predominantly Asian in Bradford, and they all support each other, whereas it's quite rare you see black businesses being opened up in Bradford or shops being opened up in Bradford. And if they do, usually you do get some level of support, but I don't believe it's to the same degree as in other communities. That could be due to size. We are still not as large as them, but I do feel like there could be more effort and, work. We could all work together and support each other, even if it's sharing it on social media or going to buy it, support it.
You make a good point, because at the end of the day, like, you see now, like, back in the day, you often have those, you have all your pubs, all the black people commune engagement, all the pubs, Manningham Lane, and all that kind of stuff, right? Now we really don't have that. We don't really have that sense of community now. So, and it's evident because, you see a lot of black people in our generation, and if anything, we're more against each other, Which is, what do you think about that? Like, it's a bit silly, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think it's a bit sad, especially the way my parents explain how they grew up. In Bradford, there was a lot more sense of community. They used to explain that there was many different events that they'd have on, their parents would put stuff on, and even just getting to know your family and being around and knowing who's a part of your family and who's a part of your people. I feel like now we don't get that as much. I feel like a lot of us don't know some of our family members. We don't come together for family events or gatherings or things like that, and unfortunately there is the topic of us also being against each other, which is something that happens a lot in this generation, and it is a bit sad to see in comparison to what it was like, or what it was told to me, what it was like when my parents were growing up in Bradford.
Or do you think we could get that back again?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we definitely can get that back again. I feel like more people need to speak. I think more people just need to come together, really, and not be afraid to socialise. I feel like nowadays we don't socialise as much. With all, technology and stuff coming about. Back in the day, they didn't have as much technology. You have to go outside. You have to go spend time with your family, with your cousins. Whereas now, people don't do that as much. And I feel like if we were to do that, it would bring that sense of community back.
I mean, this is the start of it right here, to be fair, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, even at Checkpoint, this place right here, we want to, from this, at least, kind of build back up that sense of community, because this place has a history of community, you know what I'm saying? So it makes sense that, at least when this new generation comes along, whether creatives or just people that just want to chill or vibe or do whatever, it makes sense to come here as well.
And it's also about adapting as well, so, putting older events on, putting younger events on, we can't just forget about the older people, because the older people made this place up, and yes, we are getting a bit older, but we just got to try and adapt and try and, do certain things together, try and inclusivity, any, for example, dances, clubs, events, etc., etc. So, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play our first tape, side one, and we're going to have a listen to what this individual said on the tape 40 years ago, so about 1986, round about that time. So we first.
So what was finding the work like? Was that difficult?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't difficult for work when I came here. We could change it. but it was cheap. It's not good money. And you see, what their people wouldn't do, we do it. So we could get a lot to job. And then they didn't like us, because they says, we take away the job. If you don't like chicken, you know. You see, so. But when I came 23rd, I started the 24th. Just rest the night. And I came to Bradford about 2 days. In 3 days I started work. Camp was alright. My daily routine was to look after the house, cook for the boys, wash for the boys, and look after the inside the house, because my dad and mom died early. And then I had to look after the other younger ones. And then they work, and after things go rough, because boys then grow up and live in home one by one, leaving me on my own, and then I go to work in hotels until what can I say?
Okay,
I have a baby. And then
great. So what she mentions on the tape is a lot of a daily routine, right? Now, it's not that vastly different to what's happening now. However, it's a sense of purpose then, right? And weirdly enough, coming from Jamaica, there was a shift that she mentions as well. And so, and it's evident as well when you think about it, because you've got to think, I'm going to ask you now actually, how much has our culture then influenced the culture in Britain? Today.
I feel like it's had a very, very big impact today. I feel like a lot of stuff that goes on within Britain now is quite based off of Caribbean culture, especially music, or even the terms that we use now, the slang. It all goes back to them. Some people find it trendy. You see people from different races and nationalities doing the same thing.
Like for instance, how much like people are going to say they're not Jamaican or anything like that, but they go Wagwan. Right. Is it what? Is it?
Sorry, that's one thing I hate. Let's try and still say.
Do you know what it is? It's not, and it's like, I've got to respect because it's embracing culture, right? Fair enough. But it's like, it's not even Wagwan, it's Wagwan.
Wagwan.
Wagwan. Bless the hearts. But it's like you say, you know, it's in our words, in how we speak now. It's the music mainly as well, like mainstream. You know what I mean? But it's also, like, as of recently as well, like, there's a thing of like our culture, let's say in the food we make, right? For instance, Jamie Oliver, our friend Jamie Oliver, and he's made food, for instance, jerk rice. Anybody heard of jerk rice before? Jerk rice? Yeah? No? Right. So they take our culture and then they adapt it, but don't credit us though. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you would think that you would credit where you're getting. I mean, again, I haven't heard of jerk rice, but we understand the idea of where he was going with it. But especially stuff like that, I feel like in this country, a lot of stuff was popularized by people that weren't from that culture as well, and then there's no credit being given. But, you know, over time, as of recent as well, more people are starting to understand the culture and the food and realize that, oh, this comes from here and this comes from here, do you know what I mean? Which is a good step forward from, you know, in the older generation, you know, coming to England from Jamaica, your culture was not embraced over here. It wasn't seen as something good, whereas now it's popularized and it's trending and things like that. So,
but you gotta be careful with the trendy lots. That's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, there's a thing in like obviously you can grow, okay. Principally dreadlocks, alright, fair enough. You can grow dreadlocks, but people are doing it for a trend rather than actually knowing the history behind it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they can often offend. So there's one thing to be trendy, but there's another thing to like disrespect, you know what I'm saying? So there is that. But as you say, people are getting onto that fact of like, all right, let's actually learn about this and let's actually respect it, you know what I mean? Because if you don't respect it, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? You're disrespecting the people before you, you know what I mean? And what does that say about you? You know what I mean? So there's have to be a bit of learning, you know what I mean? And that's what younger generations need to learn as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I want to ask now is the racial aspect to this. So what we've heard in the tape that Refresh played for us, the lady, I don't know this might from people, but she did say that they were calling her a monkey. So what I want to ask you now, Terrell, is that looking back, has anything changed in your opinion to what was said in the interview?
Of course, as a whole, I do believe that there is a big difference between how it was back then and now. It was obviously a lot worse and a lot harsher back then. It was a lot harder to integrate into England from Jamaica or different places. And the type of behaviour that was accepted back then was disgusting, obviously. Whereas now, people understand that racism isn't okay, discrimination isn't okay. However, there are still many day-to-day experiences that you might go through where you'll experience some type of racism or even passive racism. People might not even be aware what they're saying is quite offensive. For example, when people talk about your hair, and you know, I remember when I was in primary school and I used to have my hair up, people would say, "Oh, you got clown hair" and stuff like that. It's not understanding other people and the differences in other people. Also, you know, racist terms still happen. You know, you might go out, you've been out, you know, you've experienced it. Yeah. But I do believe that it still is a bit different from where it was back then. Back then was a lot more harsh, I think.
Yes, it's being careful with how you say it, because we all went to the same school. And even then, like, at times there were points where they would say the N-word to your face without actually knowing. Like, oh, they'll say the N-word, they'll say, "Oh, but can we call you black?" Well, that don't make sense. But it's weird, you know what I'm saying? So it's a thing of having that discussion, kind of like this actually of like, all right, what's not allowed? Because we do have a responsibility as well, because that's been on my mind as well. Like, there are some things where people are quite naive or don't know, and they won't actually like, explain, like, yo, for instance, like, if a song from the Underground Railroad was put in like something in a choir piece or whatever, and the whole choir was white, like, you know what I'm saying, and they don't know the history behind it, and you're the only black person there, you gotta think, yo, okay, well, it's one thing to not say anything, but you have a responsibility at the end of the day. I mean, to share responsibility, because of course, the actual person who came with the song, fair enough, they should have like told them about the history behind it, but it's also your responsibility to speak up and say, no, this is not allowed. You don't know it, and disrespectful, you know what I mean? So there is a shared responsibility that we have in this day and age to do better, but I agree with you.
The next guest we're going to bring up is my family member. So, Danai, can you come up and tell us your experience? So give your hands up for Danai. My first question is, after hearing that side on that tape, how was your experience and how was your family experience about, you know, your mom coming to this country, your parents, how was it, you know?
Right, 1970. So, I live in the estate, Canterbury. Youth club, just right from my front gate into the youth club. Youth club was for everybody. People from everywhere come to the youth club. So like say, well, youth club was mixed, but it was worse. Place of met a lot of problem. I seen a problem. And that was football hooligans. Right, mainly. Because at the time, right, you never know it, but it was there. Right? If you come from Barsha, Whipsey, and you play Canterbury, I guarantee it's going to be a problem. Because black player in a Canterbury, some you might find in Barsha, some you might find in Whipsey. And then black people who played in them came there, right? You can't really call them and say, them are black people. Them is socialized people, right? It's for them we are getting through life by mixing with people, right? Now you're on the same team. You can't touch my friend, right? And my teammate is, no matter where you look like, no matter where you come from, right? And that is the breaking down in people get to understand more people ways of life. The part about my family were Christians, you know. Everything we say, I'm probably wow. We have them special, this Jesus Christ, yeah. You see it? In my grandmother yard, like go through the front door, you see that picture there, and about 10 other one, everywhere around the place, exactly, sitting around the round table, right? Now you couldn't go to my grandmother yard with any bad boy talk, any disrespect, right? My grandmother was a smart person. You talk about you wait a liar, right? You would have a problem. Because my grandmother wouldn't take no nonsense from nobody at all. You could have wiped like Jesus Christ, right? Your worst enemy comfort you, your grandmother will always stand up and say, come out of the yard, right? Come out of my life. It don't matter. I'm a Christian, right? And it's a shame be thing. Our knowledge will start teaching people to read and write. To exactly, you like something. To be exactly where I come from. It's a compound, maroon town. Yes? If you don't know what I talk about, that's in Jamaica, St. Elizabeth.
We're going to play the side 2 of the tape, right?
Like that to make life easier for the children. The children was neglected or treated by the teachers. We assumed that the teachers were humane, like what we are accustomed to in the West Indies, to find out that when we did find out the truth, it was 9 times out of 10 too late to do anything to redress the balance. So, bringing up children in this country has been a nightmare for blacks, and still is a nightmare for blacks. It's a bit better in the sense that we have recognized the problems. We are now looking at fighting the problems collectively. But in those days, only a few people recognized the problems of education and all the things that face blacks bringing up children. They had to fight those things alone. There was nobody you could really talk to, because most of us didn't get to grips with what was happening to us and around us. So, for most of the children who were brought up, or who was born here, who was in the 20 or so age bracket, life was hell for them in other ways, but even more so for the parents, who were working long hours in jobs which they were doing the worst jobs, which had to rush home and pick up those children from where they were, to take them home, to try to make a meal for them, to wash and to cook and to do all these things after doing maybe 14 hours work. You work Saturday, you work Sunday sometimes, and still have to try to maintain a home. It was practically impossible. Most people were doing, by normal standard, 2 days work, 1 out and 1 in. So I'm sure most of the young people do not appreciate the problems that their parents have faced. They see a house, they see a car, they see a spare wheel, they see all those things, but they don't know. They know that they have good food and maybe good, reasonably good clothes, but they do not know or appreciate what their parents went through to achieve those in the worst paid jobs in the city. And when you think about it, I think most of the blacks have achieved a great deal with the conditions they were in to get where they are. Even to own their home, working for a set.
So do you relate to anything that you said there?
All of it.
Okay, go on, explain.
All of it. You know, because by personal, right, experience through life, in the work, you know, it's gone almost similar to what the person said then. You know, I left school, I start work, apprenticeship, the agreement. After 7 months, I was in college. I did 11 months. I still not in college. Why come in 3 months after being in their college? I forget my father belonged there, right? And all the person I tell me, they say, oh yeah, you're very good in the kitchen. You're very good in the kitchen, stick in the kitchen. You know? I work at the cafe bar. When I go in the morning, the chef does push everything to me and say, you do that, you're very good at doing that. I mean, I tell you, I used to do a lot of the cooking inside, right? Ben's Cafe. It was called. We still never get up to go to college to learn anything, right? Everything that he taught me in the kitchen, I was showing me. I already knew how to apart from making custard, right? Custard, mashed potatoes, right? Those 2 experience things I've grown from there. Everything else, I know about that already. Because I've been cooking from a little youth, right? From Jamaica, right? On the parade, I just live on the bow. My mom used to teach at the school at parade. Yeah. Most of the time, right? And wasn't feeling that well. I had to do most of the cooking. Every Sunday they used to chop a chicken and half. And that was 6, 7 years old. Right? 10 times then. Seriously. Right? My father was working at plantation in America. So I never know my father. I met him when I was 3 and a half, 4. Next time I saw him was 1970 when I came to England. And I was saying, we have 3 brothers who were born in Jamaica with him. Yeah, but the work experience is the same everywhere else I go. After 7 months, right, the agreement changed. I wasn't the same person anymore, right? I learned too much. I catch on too fast. Didn't like that. Worst place I've been, right? Used to be at the Lower, the skill center. I was sitting there by the job center, right? To learn car body repair. You know, I'm on about vehicle repair. Yeah. The first year I got there, right, I was doing the introduction. When I get around to introducing the person who was going to take us, because different section of people, right, in different places, doing all different kind of car works, you know. When they introduced me to the the person who's going to take us, right, whose course I'm going to be doing for the car body repair. When I come outside the place after we done the induction, when I come outside, the guy said, I'm going to make your life healthy. Dude, I never knew him before. First time I met him, never done nothing to the boy. Honest to God, right? And for the 9 months I was there, it was exactly the same thing, right?
No, it's all right. Thank you for bringing that. Did you challenge anything that you disagreed with, or did you just think, it don't make sense anyway, because they would have been in the argument anyway, even like when you were at the cafe and stuff like that, and even working in general, if you disagreed what someone was saying to you or what they're telling you to do, did you just do it, or did you just did you try and challenge them?
Well, the challenge, right, it was your advisor, right, is always somebody from the job center who was, whatever, right, but whenever you go back there to any of those places and you have a problem, the thing that they tell you, you can't go back to the job center, right? Just talk to your advisor at the job center, right? The guy who started this with me, I had a meeting with his boss, who was working at the same place at the work. And that's when he told me to get the car and go back to the job center. So what you gotta do? You gotta be tripping me on or see something here, right? You gotta put me on the words position into a car, the dreadlocks, like you see it, walk on the right on the like half a walk my dreadlocks usually. You can imagine the front and the front wheel, the side of the front wheel, and the back when you have to do the repair. I know my head couldn't never fit under there, right? And those are the part that the guy usually put me to do, right? Well, it's you do all of that, right? You're very good with that, Sander, right? You're very good on that. You can do better work, right? When it's happening across, right, like the welding stuff, right? It moved me to a different position from the rest of the class. Right? You go over there, right, and you practice some of the arch welding, so forth, right? And the class was over there, right? Whatever I learned from that place, I had to learn from the books. Where I go back up from the library, he never told me nothing. The guy was on the case every day.
So you put you in a position deliberately to watch you there?
Until one Asian guy came there and he started working, right, and he started getting what I used to get. Because I was leaving alone now, right. And he started with the hearing guy. But my personality, right, there was a guy with the same prescription on me, with the same name, same friend, right, was a black guy, from Huddersfield. He went through everything that I went through. He had to go all the way to Sheffield to finish his skill. Bless. You know, not even more.
Thank you. So after that, we're going to introduce another artist called Dante. Where you at, Dante? You over there, Dante? And he's going to be doing a lot of spoken word for you. So can we give a round of applause for Dante, please?
Hi guys, my name is Dante. I'm from London, but heritage-wise I'm from Antigua, Grenada, South Africa and Mauritius. So I've got quite a bit of a mix, and I've had quite a broad perspective, especially with like things like this. I'm an actor, a spoken word artist, as well as many other things. What I tend to write about my own experiences and my own thought processes on a lot of stuff, and here's just a couple of things now. This first one doesn't actually have a title, but it's just like a brief little introduction of just me, really. So my name is Dante Thomas. I'm 22, soon to be 23. I've been told that I look 26, and I wish that I don't have to enter another argument as to whether or not I'm 5'9", but I'll take all the help I can get. Upon this painfully plain, point-blank perspective, what do you see? Besides a bespectacled, bloated black boy barreling his way before you now. Maybe a man managing to make this all up as he goes on. But this blunt bio will be brief. My name is Dante, he, him, and I identify as human. Not before I see myself as a kaleidoscope, a stained glass window, a patchwork blanket, multiple pieces partaking in this particular picture. Now, in the most ironic sense possible, I don't see colour. I'm blind. Besides being black, I am mixed beyond measure, and I've been told otherwise by the unknowing. I've been mistaken for many things, but I don't bind myself by these misnomers. I have a habit of dressing up my words, garnishing them with the articulate, eloquent cherry on top, creating a veil. If I was to talk frankly, I would say this. Now, I'm not quite broken, but I don't think that I'm not quite broken, but I think there is something that isn't quite right, quite working properly. Perhaps a gear that makes me tick a tad too fast or a second slower than others. It's something that doesn't exactly let me fit into place. Now, at times it's great, it provides a little quirkiness, but other times I just don't want to be seen as odd. Now, that's an insecurity that we all have seen, an infection that has plagued us at least at some time. Us red-blooded individuals who can feel blue, who can be green with envy, and can have yellow sit at the pit of our stomachs. I have seen and I have felt it all, and as I ride this torrential waters, hoping to keep this multi-hued flame alive, hoping to heat the others with happiness, have them all feel a sense of home, as that is where the heart is. And there's no better way to reach the heart than through the stomach and ears. And good food and dulcet tones are blind to all colours, but the aromas and the waves welcome all, as we should all. Why dish cold-coloured vengeance when we are warm-blooded individuals, capable of love beyond our means, beyond our creeds? Ain't that the meaning of the word unity? Thank you.
So next, we'll be talking about certain black-owned businesses, etc., etc., etc. Certain influence we have in Bradford as well. But first, we'd like to invite Heather up to the stage. That's right. Hello, you're alright. Come to the stage. Give a round of applause to Heather, please.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Thanks to Kumar and others for inviting me. This is completely impromptu. I haven't prepared anything. It's just that I have an interest in oral history, and I've been working with the Oral History Society based in London, but working internationally for some years now. I'm on the Oral History Journal editorial board, and I've done some work within the region on oral history projects. So I just think today is a really significant moment for Checkpoint, in the history of Checkpoint. And also everybody here today as well. Give yourselves a clap. Because it's events like this that generate the significance and the meaning of lived experience and highlight the importance of passing on memories. And I really feel that you've got something very special with these oral history tapes, profoundly special. You think about it, the First Lady was talking about coming in 1955. You know, there weren't many people in this room who were even around in 1955. She's talking about her daily routines years before that.
So those memories are just going back such a long time. Now, why are these memories important? Because these memories were never written down. They're absent from their history books. Their history books, as we all know, from whatever backgrounds we come from, only tell the stories of those who were powerful enough to have their stories recorded. Those stories are only partial, they're incomplete. Oral histories tell the stories or give opportunities for other underrepresented stories to come across, to be preserved, to make a more complete picture. And hearing these unheard voices from so long ago is really profound, not just in the words they say, the words they use that our panelists pointed us to earlier on, but the emotions they bring to sharing those memories. You could hear it, couldn't you? You could hear the anger, the pain. You could sense the silences. You could hear the pauses, the silences, things that were felt. That never comes across in written histories. I think it's really, really important for all of us who feel that our stories have not been fully represented in the written texts to look to oral histories as a way of not just plugging the gaps, but making histories more inclusive, more nuanced. Yeah, give the fine detail, the fine grain of the emotional and the lived reality of what people in the past have come from. And why? Why bother to do any of that? Because having a sense of who you are helps you hang on to how you are in the present and how you're going forward. And I think that's, whatever our age is, it's really important to be able to think about legacy and passing on to future generations, those connections, those ties. They're signposts. They're signposts from the past to the present and well into the future. So the oral history tapes that are being shared today are really hugely significant. And for me, it's a great pleasure to be in here. I can't believe that I've been invited to come up and say these words on here. But I hope the project goes on to great things. I hope everybody in this room has a chance to share their own stories, because those are part of building the future too. And I hope above everything that you find ways to sustain those tapes and whatever new recordings you do in long-term ways, so that they will be there for great-great-grandchildren and others to understand the struggles, the contributions, and to listen with respect to their forefathers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right now, so we're going to listen to the other tape that we've got to share with you.
Last of us, 1960.
Well, in terms of people, and one of the things that we have to look at that in more than one way. If you look at from the industrial side, there was a lot of industry because there was mills on all the streets you could find. I mean, to say you look at places like Canal Road, Valley Road, and Fountain Road, and those places, nearly every other couple of steps was another mill. So on terms of industries, you had loads and loads of industries, jobs and so on. You didn't have a problem. You could leave one job and walk into another. Might not be highly paid, but it would have been a job. So on the industrial side, it was healthy. If you look at the streets and the houses and so on, the houses were big and cold and poorly painted, either in black or some of those most dark, obnoxious colors that presented a dreary outlook. The big chimneys, belched out smokes that made everything dingy and black and so on. So as far as that side was concerned, it was a terrible looking sight to look around and see everything seemed to be covered with smoke and ash and so on from the various industry around. And that never changed until they brought in the smokeless zone, where naturally you couldn't burn those kind of things and change the whole look of that. In terms of people, people was very, very poor. I was surprised to see that within England, that people was here who, from working families where their husbands and so on was working, and they were not much better off than we that were in the West Indies. I mean, say some of them didn't have a suit. Most of them rented from the various corporations, the local authority houses and so on. And there were really a lot of poor people. That surprised me at the time. So in terms of the standard of living, for me it was very low for a country which was supposed to be so prosperous and dominated a massive part of the world. You couldn't believe, and Bradford as one of the industrial cities with people in the position that they were in. So in terms of prosperity for the people, although we have a higher unemployment situation, people today live about 50 times higher in terms of standard of living and so on than they were when I came here. Everybody has carpet right through, fitted carpet right through the houses, everybody got all the modcons, televisions and so on. Most people never had that. Some of them had a little line, no square on the floors that had a house, and they might have had a little radio, and that was about it. You know, the things like fridges and so on, no one didn't have. They didn't have no electric kettles and so on. There were none of those modcons. A lot of people relied a great deal on the fish and chip shops for a meal, a substantial meal. People relied a great deal on this fat you get from the animals to help make the sandwiches and so on. So for me, in terms of standard of living and so on, it was very poor people, and it was a shock to me to see people in the city living at such a low level. I could understand it in the West Indies in certain parts of Africa because all the resources were pulled out. But for the country where we were receiving the resources, I didn't believe I had so much problem.
Whereabouts in Bradford did you begin initially?
My first place was in St Mary's Terrace, that is just up from the Children's Hospital. And I lived there for about a year, and then I moved down to Bellevue. From Bellevue to South Fleet Square until I then went back to St Mary's, and then I bought my own little terrace house. So it was always in the Manningham area most of the time that I lived.
So where were the black people concentrated at the time?
Most of the black people lived in the Manningham area. That means in Undam Lane and those things right up to the St Mary's area. Manningham Lane on both sides, Long Lane on both sides. Nearly all the black people lived in that area. In the 60s up to, right through the 60s, they only started to move up after the latter part of the 60s, the early 70s, when they were able to buy better houses and so on. Because you must remember that in the early days we didn't get mortgages. And then when you did get a mortgage, you only got a mortgage in that area because the whites didn't want that area. So it was only when that things were changing a little bit that they were able to get away from the Manningham area. But most if you wanted to see anyone, you could guarantee walking down Long Lane to get which is the John Street Market now, which was an open market at the time. And if you didn't see them in that area, you wouldn't see them easily. Because most of the shopping was done either in the John Street Market or on the Long Lane area.
What was the community like, the black community?
Fairly close. They had to be because naturally there weren't many blacks around. especially in the early 60s, the black community grew after 65, coming back to the 70s. But in the 60s when I came, you could actually reckon the few blacks that there was around. And you had to be close if you wanted to survive, because you would get attacked if you were walking on your own. So you would find most blacks walking 2 or 3 together. It was the safest way to get around. Yeah. So even if you when you went out at Friday nights or Saturday nights, you get a few mates to go to have a drink. You never go on your own, because if you do, you have a very good chance of getting beaten up. But in those early days, you had to go with someone else.
So what kind of social activities?
It was limited, because when you say we had no center or anything like that, and the places that people would meet was in the pubs. It was the same White Swan, it was the Barracks, which is one opposite, they've changed its name since. Then you had the Bellevue. So it was those 3 pubs carried most of the blacks. Then down in town, you had the Wine Lodge that catered for quite a few, and 1 or 2 of those in that same place. But then you had the house parties, which didn't go down very well, and people do everything to stop from people blacks having. But that was the most thing that people could do, and then people would get together in one another homes and play maybe a game of dominoes and sit there and watch television together or so. Because the kind of things that are open to black people now wasn't open then. You had to live very tight and very close. So you see a few men or a few lads get together and would meet at somebody's flat or home and have some little dominoes or some cards, and then we'll meet at the next house the following week. And that is how it operated. For those that were fortunate to have a house, you would find that people would meet there regularly and talk over old times, things that happened over the week or the weeks, and things that happen at home. But as far as the kind of recreation that we can have now, because of the various facilities we've got, there was none that around.
So did they tend to group up in terms of people from the same island or on a wider scale?
Wider scale, because you would just like to see another black face. It doesn't matter. Islands never come into it. When you were walking down the street and you saw another black face, it is like seeing something appear from heaven. You just wanted to know that person. The last thing you think about which part he come from, it might have came from the moon, because there wasn't a lot of black faces around. And when you saw another, that was all you know. I mean, I've known a lot of people that is only recently I know where they came from. Because that didn't come into it. You just wanted to know that here you got another black, you got another colleague, you got another friend in the area to let you feel a bit more secure. Because on your own, you was out on a limb. On your own, you couldn't be beaten up. So you couldn't afford the luxury of saying, I come from Dominica or Barbados or Jamaica. You just know that you were another black. And I think that was good in a lot of ways, because it gave us a great deal of strength in those years when you were under attack, because your numbers were so small. And if you were walking down the streets and somebody attacked another black, you didn't wait to find out if he would attack you. You would get stuck in, and you would expect that same support from him. So in those early years, that was the code that we lived on. You didn't have to tell a black if he passing down the road and see another black getting beaten up that he should help. He knew exactly what to do. So it came a time when they decided to leave us alone, because naturally it was made clear that any black you attack them all. And a fellow didn't come and ask who interfered, that didn't come into it.
So were you yourself ever attacked, or did you have to?
Oh yes, I was attacked quite a few times. I was never on my own, and the last time it was 4 of us who was walking up the Church Street, which is coming on to St. Mary's, and a group of youngsters, about a dozen, attacked us, which was one heck of a brawl. And in the end, we gave them a fairly good hide, and they ran off. I think that if I do remember, that's the last time. How long ago it is, I don't really know, but it's been a long time. But in recent years, I think the only people who would try anywhere to provoke me has been the police. And not in recent years either. Only once I think they stopped me, I think this year, but which tried to provoke me with my car. But as a rule, I don't get any problems now because I think I've got to a stage where I'm very well known.
Can you tell me what was the media's reaction? How did the media project us in those days?
Worse than they do now, because they know they didn't have anyone to challenge them. And I don't know if people have seen that thing we call black. And you must have seen some of the news that was given on that. Every week you would hear a number of statements by the press on see a number of things written up. That was, terribly untrue, and anything that a black person was in was either a riot or a war or something like that. Blacks never had a chance as far as the press is concerned. I mean to say there's only in recent years that they realize that we are being challenging and there's some little restraint on some of the things that they would print and say on the media and so on. But in the early days, they had license to do and say whatever they like, and they went ahead and done it. There was no body to stop them. There was no law to do anything about it because, the restoration law only came in a lot 76, so that really started got going. But the early law didn't even have any teeth, and they said this one doesn't even, the amendments and so on doesn't really have much teeth to it because you've got to prove everything. Even if somebody halfway murder you, you've still got to prove that it is a racial attack, and everybody can say this at the law as it stands today. Never mind verbal attacks, you had little or no chance of preventing them, and they knew that you could not really take them to court easily because the cost of carrying through a case like that, it runs into thousands of pounds. So what chance do you have when the law doesn't protect you in that way? So they had, I said, the freedom to do whatever they like and print whatever they like. And I say every day you could see things in the press. I think the only thing was that blacks at the time was prepared to accept it because we never saw the sense of challenges since we believed that we would have been in this country for a very long time. When we realized that we had come unstuck and we were actually here and there was no way out, and it was time to start challenging the various things that was said and done to us. But in the early days, there was only a few people challenging things, and that was on the individual scale. If somebody attack you or personally at work or something like that, you've done something about it in your own way. But a collective approach to bring about changes and so on, that was never really on. Because we didn't believe we would have been here 20 odd years after. So why bother about something when you're not going to be around? But we found that was a mistake in itself because we didn't foresee the implications that it would have caused at latter years.
So the media view us affects.
Well, the way how they presented us as simple, happy-go-lucky people has made people look at us as inferior. And that's given me.
Okay, so now we're going to open the questions up to all of you lot, if you're ready for it. In response to that tape, in the tape it says, the standard living was poor. Again, this is for people who are confident who would like to come up.
Can I just say this was not planned?
I respect the confidence though.
I know it's important. That's cool.
Will you say what did you think about what you've just heard so far on the tape?
Well, first of all, I just want to commend everybody at Checkpoint for putting this on. I think it's really important part of our history, and I'm so pleased to be here. That's the first thing. I didn't expect to be doing any talking.
No, that's why we invited you.
Yeah, but what do I think of what I've heard? It's gold. Gold, that's what I think. You know, it needs preserving. We need to observe what we've heard. I've been shocked by a couple of things, I will tell you. One gentleman was speaking about black people not really supporting each other, and that was back then.
Yeah.
And that hurt my heart, that did, because I thought that was a new phenomenon. Do you know what I mean? Something that came in my generation.
Yeah.
But for him to say that means that disease has been around for a long time. And I think it's only now that we're starting to break those cycles, because I know that we are supportive of each other's businesses, each other's organisations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think for young people, you cannot hang on to that narrative. You've got to be more positive. I know that for my generation, we're in our 50s now. But when we... No, I'm talking about myself and my generation. Me and my sister in there, you know, we grew up. We came to Checkpoint, got Springer up the back there. We're all the same generation. And, you know, I don't believe that it was ingrained in us that much. And something has happened between that generation and now, because I felt nothing but unity growing up. Nothing but, and there was no distinction about where you came from either. Do you know what I mean? Because I come from a Dominican mum and a Jamaican dad. And so, you know, there was no, you know, I can't remember us having any barriers like that amongst ourselves, but I'm seeing that sort of increasingly growing up now. But just to answer your question, I thought that everything that was said was really golden, and I was hanging on to every word.
One of the things that was mentioned on the tape as well was it was hard to get jobs at the time. And a member of Checkpoint said a while ago, because we listened to the tapes, saying that her dad tried to join the police, but he didn't get, well, he had to retrain again, and even then they made it 10 times harder for him to train again. So similar to Deny in terms of him being a chef and him training and all that kind of stuff like that. So what's your opinion on that? Is there a difference since with the different generations with that?
Well, I think even because Danite's a bit older than me, so I think even by the time we come up, our experience was slightly different. I could never remember struggling in the workplace at all. I'm not saying we didn't experience any racism, because I did. I used to have a manager and he used to say to me, I bet you swung in this morning, didn't you? On trees. I remember going home and telling my mum what this foolish man was saying to me at work, and she said to me, she gave me some lyrics to use on it, so next time when I went into work, and he said, I bet you swung in today, didn't you? And I said, yeah, and on the next tree was your sister, and on that tree was your mother. And this is how my mum used to empower us to go into the white, racist workplaces. And a few lyrics like that, and he used to, you know, he left me alone then. And you know, years later, that white man came to me and apologised. Yes, he did. He apologised because he knew he was out of order. But to me, it was like a sport. I used to like going in, and I used to like listening to this man just so I could bat back, you know, all this filth that he used to, you know, throw my way. But getting back to employment, my experience was slightly easier. And I think it's because I'm the youngest of many sisters who, you know, sort of paved that way for me. And again, empowered me to be who I wanted to be in the workplace. So I can't remember, oh yeah, tell a lie. I did go for a job at the TNA, and they wanted to be racist to me in the interview. So I sued them. And they ended up having to pay me £25,000 just for an interview. And that's how you get even. You know, you don't beat them up, even though we've done that too. You take them to court. you take them to court, do you know what I mean? And the generation after me, I think, because I don't know if people notice, but it's going in cycles. You know, like we seem to be winning, and then they'll do something, and then the next generation's really suffering. Do you know what I mean? And so I've seen not as many opportunities for, you know, the younger generation, but then I think, you know, it's sad to say, but the George Floyd incident sort of changed things, and a lot of employers started looking at themselves. So I personally have seen more opportunities for young people since then. I don't know if that's what your experience is.
We said a similar thing, you know, because I'm saying, as of now, since the George Floyd situation, like, and it shouldn't have been resolved because of a black man's death. That should have happened. It should just happen naturally, you know what I'm saying? But in a sense, God has a plan, so you can't argue with that. So even then, from that, our generation has gotten more opportunities, you know what I mean? Because me and a couple of artists over there, we've got a chance now, more opportunities, you know what I mean, regardless of our skin colour, you know what I mean? So with that, we're using as much of this time as possible, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, we're in Checkpoint, and we appreciate Checkpoint, you know what I mean, for allowing us to do this, you know what I mean? So we can pass on for more future generations so they can build on that, you know what I mean? And that's all of the strength from what all of you have been doing, you know what I mean? Because without your fight, we wouldn't be here, you know what I'm saying?
But if I was to say one more thing, well, not one more thing, I hope you ask me one more question, but I think for young people, you know, to teach them our history is so important. Do you know what I mean? We can't, because I was just talking to Josiah, and I think Josiah's generation is the last of the generations that are aware of, you know, Bradford's black experience. I think the generations that come after that, we need to reintroduce Saturday school. We need to reintroduce, you know, extracurricular activities so that we don't lose that culture. Last year we produced a book. We did an oral history project as well, and I was just sat there listening to the tapes. And can I just big up Maya, please? Rest in peace. Because I do believe Maya was at the heart of a lot of those tapes. And I was just saying to Colin that he was so far ahead of himself in terms of making sure that our history was, you know, sort of put down in that way. And to discover these tapes, I think it's been amazing. But I think, you know, for young people coming up, this is all we teach, is that you've got to learn the skills of business, you've got to learn entrepreneurial skills. We started it, we were the first business people, first businessmen and women on the planet, and so we've got to go back and relearn those skills so that we can, you know, be self-sufficient in the future. We preach self-sufficiency and self-determination. You know, and that's what I would leave them people with. Don't wait for others to do it for you, do it for yourself.
Thank you very much. Right. Is there anybody else that wants to come up and speak their piece? Oh, come.
Karen, please.
It's important that we, as we call little people who contribute every day, who get up and go to work, and make sure that they come home, feed their young people. As I said in the tapes, there are many people who suffered at the heart of ignorance in those days, and still now. I can guarantee it's not as bad as when our grandparents, great-grandparents came. They had so much abuse. It's unbelievable. And I remember my father and my mother coming home from work, and next day they're going to a new job. No promotion, no this, no that. But you have to find another route to get to what you need to achieve. And I think everybody helping each other, everybody in this room today is contributing to the legacy. It doesn't matter what you do, everybody is contributing, and you need to remember It takes, what's it say? It takes everybody to make something spectacular. And if we all contribute in our own way, even if it's simply just going into a shop and buying off a black business. If you're going to create black businesses, buy from black people. And that's what I do all the time. Even when I'm in Jamaica, I will go miles to find a black gold shop. My parents are business owners. I've been a business owner. I've seen people walk across the road and then cross back again when they pass my shop. I've seen things happen. So if you're going to preach about these things, we have to do it in the community and respect each other, our values, our talents, our skills. Everybody's good at something. And it's up to us, or the individual, to generate an interest, to try and project or find what that person is good about and help them step up. Our elders have helped us all step up today. Help the next one. What's your legacy going to be? That's what I always say. I trained as a teacher and I said, what's your legacy? I went to university. There's lots of people in this room that went to university. There's people who've got PhDs, doctorates, postgraduate qualifications, HNDs. It doesn't matter. Find the route that suits you, because we all contribute together. And in our community, over the last 30, 40, 50 years, there have been people from the community way back who went to these educational facilities and got abuse. They were failed for no reason. They put all their efforts in. My father studied a master's degree. When he got to the end, they said, no, you need to do this. So you have to sort of take on board everybody's differences, and we can build a better future. We're all as important as each other. And I think that's the way to think. There's so much where we should be proud of. We're very creative, very spiritual, there's so many skills. And I just think, listening to the tapes, we have to acknowledge what they went through and what we don't have to go through today.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and give your hands up for Linda.
Thank you for listening to me again, because I've been up already. But I kind of wanted to speak about how it is being a young person in this day and age and being alone in this country. And listening to the tapes, I really related to a lot of the first tape, a lot of the examples that she gave about when she first came here and how hard she had to work. For me right now, I'm in my 3rd year of university studying with Solomon, acting. And when I first began there, I just come fresh from South Africa. I did my high school in South Africa. And I get there the first year, and I'm very different to the rest of the course. Everyone else is purely there for the acting, but I realized the minute I got there, first of all, I live by myself with my man in a house, not a student accommodation, so my bills are going to be very different to everyone else. Secondly, I have a condition that doesn't allow me to work, but at the same time I'm black, so even if I went to them and said I had a condition, it's not going to apply to the same for black people in the industry and in the community. And then the third thing is I didn't have a job at the time, and I wasn't getting fair amount of student finance, so I had to make a way. I needed to figure out how on earth I was even going to get to university. So I launched my music career, I launched my producing, I started doing a fundraiser that would support creatives within the community. And I just remember at the time, while studying and whilst kind of launching all these things, my course leader would have lots of meetings with me about how I was doing too much and how it looks to the rest of the other students. Because I'm doing more than just acting. I'm now out there trying to produce, I'm out there trying to launch my music career. And if I don't stop all these things, how's it going to look to the other students? And I'm going to tie myself and therefore back away from the things I had to do in university. I ignored it. It affected me a lot, but I ignored it because I knew my journey was different. Second year comes, I'm getting an email being told that they want to use my portfolio as an example to the first years of how hardworking artists have to be and how to look like after they almost forced me to quit the first year. just because they didn't give me that support. So second year, they're using my portfolio as an example. Everyone's saying, oh, I'm such an inspiration, complete outer to what they were telling me in the first year. Third year comes, and now at this point, out of everyone in my course, I view myself as someone who's worked very hard, someone who has the most to show off that hard work. And a lot of those people are now coming to my event, performing at my events, those same people that I studied with, that same course leader who told me to stop all those things I was doing in the first year. And that's when I realized that not only did they not consider who I was within the world and where I fit into the scale of the world, but they also ignored the fact that I'm this young black woman who had no one in the country, had nowhere else to go. By second year, we didn't have a place to live, and that's how I found Bradford, because we stayed in a hostel in Bradford, which accepted us with open arms. We were here for a few weeks, and we realized that, because not originally, but we stay in Leeds, and when we came to Bradford, we immediately realized the sense of community that was also missing in a lot of other places. And that's why I was so happy to come today and be a part of this event, because I knew that places like Bradford and the communities that you find in a place like this is honestly not everywhere. I can confirm now, I've lived in a lot of countries. I've lived in Canada, I've lived everywhere, and I can tell you now there's not a community like the one I found in Bradford. And what Bradford has here as a community is really strong, and I just want to encourage more things like this to happen. It's inspired me so much to come into Bradford and produce a lot of the stuff here as well. So I just want to commend the community as a whole for the constant work that you're doing.
First of all, my name is TK. I am currently getting my master's in law at Bradford Uni, and I feel like I've learned so much from this space and this group, and I've been taking notes the entire time. And I think the first thing that I understood from those tapes and from listening to everyone is not to let anyone dim your light, and not to let anyone tell you that you don't deserve to be in the room. Now, an oppressor, because I don't want to say a racist, because sometimes even black people oppress ourselves. An oppressor always gonna feel like they can tell you where you deserve to be, but they can't. And the sooner that you understand that no one can tell you where you deserve to be, then the stronger we are, and the more we tell each other that, the stronger we become as a community. Then another thing is understanding the difference between appreciation and appropriation. Now, it's fine for people to appreciate our culture. It is fine for them to help us share our culture, to spread love, but not to appropriate it, to turn it into a joke, into a trend, into a punchline, into a skit. That's something that I think is very, very important for us to remember. And being black, as I've come to understand it, because I came to the UK when I was 15 or 16 by myself. I moved in with an aunt after leaving Nigeria, and I grew up in a black community, so coming here and experiencing racism, experiencing microaggressions, it was very random for me. It was very new, because where I had come from, everyone else just looked like me. So being black is understanding these things and acting above them, rising above the shit, pardon my language, that we receive daily, and remembering that it is not enough until it is enough. That everything that others do, everything that oppressors do, the changes they make, the way they try to include us, and it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying it's great, but it's not enough until it's enough. It doesn't become enough until it is enough. And when it is enough, we will know. We wouldn't be as angry, because we deserve to be angry. I'm just saying it's not enough until it is enough. And this has been like a very, very fantastic space, and I've learned so much from those tapes, and thank you, that's it.
If you look at the stats for Bradford, a little bit of a wake-up call. 2021 census,
It says 61% of Bradford is white, 31% is Asian, 2% is black, 2.7% is mixed, and 2% is other. That was the 2021. So our brand, our melanin brands are high, but don't just look to black people to buy your things. It's not sensible to do that. We are in England, right? So think about selling your things inside our community, support ourselves, but also look to sell to white people and Asians because they outnumber us by many times. So if we've got a brand that's high, and you go look at a marketing campaign, sell a new car, sell a new phone, so it's all black faces, right? Our brand is high. Your brand is high. What you make is high. The services you offer is high. But think about, don't just look to sell it to 2% of the community, because the same statistic for England used to be the same thing. 2 to 5% of England was black or mixed race. So try to sell to the 95% if you're about making money as well with your own business. Yeah? It's just a bit of a wake-up call. Those are statistics. Support each other, but look to sell outwardly as well.
We also have a few words from Terrell. That's right, that's you. Come on. Come on. So, off of the back of that, in terms of black businesses, everything like that, of course, you are a part of, the son of the very same man that started 2 T-shirt gang, is that right?
Yep.
Right, award-winning 2 T-shirt gang, black-owned business, right? So, with that in mind, how do you think black-owned businesses should be building in Bradford?
Personally, I think that there should be a lot more young people aspiring to open businesses. As was said earlier, it's not just about focusing on getting the jobs as they are important as well. You know, it is also about, you know, working in other avenues, becoming your own employer, and then making opportunities for the rest of your people in your community, things of the sort. And again, as was said, it's important to support those businesses as well. The same way you would support a fashion designer brand, or you'd go to Broadway and shop in all these stores, all these high-end stores. Why not shop at your local black person business? You know, the same way, and it all builds something, and it all moves us forward in the future. And then when we're older, hopefully it's another step forward. And then when we have children, they can follow, and it just continues to grow. That's the only way we're going to improve as a community and get better, you know, get back on our feet and, you know, have what we deserve.
And do you think 2 T-shirt gang is definitely helping towards that as well?
Yeah, 2 T-shirt gang is definitely helping towards that. You know, it's not just a one-dimensional business. They also want to give opportunities to younger children in the community, less fortunate children in the community, people who don't have as much opportunities. And it's not just even younger generation, even people who are older can get involved in things like this. So yeah, I think they're doing a good thing and making an impact as well.
Can I ask a question? So, what I want to ask you is, why are other ethnicities buying out certain places and why can't black people do the same, or why can't we do it more?
Yeah, you know, I don't think we have the same resources. I don't think that we are, you know, this could be an opinion, but I do think in the business industry, black people are still viewed as, you can't do it like us, you know? And I feel like we need to overcome that, regardless of what's said. Obviously, we can do it like them, if not better, but it requires us to work together first. You know, they might not support us in the same way, but we need to work together. Like I said previously, in Bradford, the Asian community is quite large, and their businesses thrive because they do buy from each other, they do support each other. So why can't we do the same thing? If we were to do the same thing, who knows how far we could go?
No, I was going to say, you're definitely right, you hit the nail on the head at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So moving forward, again, in a business mindset, we should be more together and that, more unified. And with that, do you think, again, because of lack of resources and stuff like that, here we have an opportunity in Checkpoint from Bradford 2025, you know what I mean, to at least put this on. Do you think in the next couple of years we can see more of that coming through, you know, with, in terms of like, if you want to, let's say you want to put out like again, another designer brand or something like that, like you want to put out another designer brand for the young or put out something for the community and stuff like that, do you think you would more have a chance, you could have a chance to get funding for that?
Most definitely, I don't see why not. I feel like Checkpoint is doing a really good thing here, and it's a stepping stone forward. But again, it's on our shoulders to make it work, especially the younger generation. We've been speaking about how the older generation, how much work and sacrifice they've done for us to not experience the same level of, you know, holding back as what they did. And it's on us as the younger generation to keep pushing that forward. Because no one else is going to do it for us except us.
Josiah actually has a few words. Let him come up.
Yeah. Josiah, everyone. Because in the day I might as well sit down, everyone else sat down.
I'm just glad that everybody came today and came to get involved in the experience, you know? Because all praises to the Master, as much as we've been through, we're a strong people. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. And we grow, and we keep going, you understand? The experiences I've seen and heard, especially on the tapes, and the examples I had growing up, is what give me the resilience to keep going. Is what give me the resilience to have hope and belief that things are always going to be better, always going to be brighter, always going to be greater. There's people on here who paved the way. You've got Mr. Springer on there, one of the biggest men in the community, you understand? You get me? You've got people out here who were doing things with no accolade, just trying to make things work because they believed in the community and the people. And as much as we haven't been supporting each other, we have to make the change now, we have to be the change we want to see, you understand? So I have to praise the Most High first and foremost, because without God, there is nothing, is there? You understand? And going forward, if everybody here brings their brick, or as Big Nigel says, one cocoa fill basket, you understand? Us as a community are unstoppable. We have to look inward first to deal with it outwardly, yeah? And I just feel like this particular project that was done today was the first of many greatnesses that we're going to bring forward out of Bradford and going forward.
Yeah, Mario, you want to come up now?
That's right.
Mario, big hands up for Mario.
Josiah.
Guys, okay, focus.
Focus. Right. My name is Maureen. If you don't know, then I am. You know what? One of the biggest things I would listen to Claudia. And for me, the biggest thing is I've always worked for the community, no matter what. I always say, if the job I'm doing can benefit my community, why am I doing the job? Simple. And I've done so much. You know, we used to run Saturday school. I'm sorry for my sister, you know, because I drag her everywhere I go. If there's something to be done, but I appreciate the parents who send their children to Saturday school, because they, you know, we used to do homework in the morning, and oh dear Lord, the age is on me. And then anything black in the afternoon, always history, you know, and for me it is so important. I was born in Jamaica and I came here when I was 15. I came in by myself. and went to school. Can't say it was the best experience, but allow it, because it was then. I can't say that it didn't have its issues in terms of racism, but you know what? I was born in the country, went to school in the country. No, I lived with my aunt in Montego Bay, and I'm telling you, tough cooking. Yes, I got those two things to level me out, and there's nothing like the experience to bring with me to fight, struggle, whatever. And in terms of young people, because I love young people all day long. Sometimes I think I've given birth to them. In Claudia, yes, I always think that their children are mine as well. I didn't give birth to them. But for me, it's giving them the tools, the skills to be able to function in a society that's not meant for them. None at all. You know, for me, they should be able to use the skills, use the brain. You know, don't let somebody else tell you what to do. You know what to do. And for some parents, I have to say this. Please, I beg you, let your children come in the kitchen and learn to cook. I beg you, please. Because you know, when they go to university or wherever, to be able to look after yourself is important. It is so important. You know, we joke about, you know, I can't, you know, some people say, oh, you can't burn, you can't even boil water. That's a fact for some people. You need to be able to look after it. You need to start from the inside. Work from the inside. Know who you are, where you're going, and why you want to go there. You know, whatever job you do, please let it enhance your community as well. You know, because we are of age, you guys are young, and I want you to look, you should be able to see what you want to do by the walking of your community. Where your community is going, where do you fit in? You know, and if you're going down the wrong road, come on, tell us. You know, tell us, because my generation, which is second generation Windrush, and then there's my children's generation, they work hard. But we fail them along the way sometimes, you know, because really what we should say to them, like what they say, go work for yourself. Do something that is important to you, what you love. Sometimes as parents we tell our children to be doctor, nurse, and all that. Doesn't necessarily want to be that. It's our dream. We want our children to do what we didn't get a chance to do, but they've got their own dreams.
We would just like to thank everybody here for showing up. Round of applause for everybody here, please. We have a foundation. I'm still carrying that clock. Really and truly. Round of applause to Checkpoint for having us, boosting the space. Round of applause to Checkpoint, please. The young arms as well.
Thanks to Hello, thanks to all of you who came up to chat to everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Give thanks and praise. I coulda never complain. My life's so great. Life's so great. I coulda never complain. Watch out now. I take a look at life and I appreciate it. Yeah. Even when things don't seem to be going my way many days. I give thanks for the little that the Most High bless me with. Cause many have wealth but them don't happy. Living their life in pure misery. But my life's so great. Life's so great. I coulda never complain. Give thanks and praise. Life's so great. I coulda never complain. My life's so great. Life's so great. I coulda never complain. Give thanks and praise. Life's so great. I coulda never complain.